This edition of PV Power Up is brought to you by Innovative Solar. Save with solar. Welcome to PV Power Up. My name's Nick Kovach.
And my name is TJ Kanchezeski.
We're here today with Twitter expert Solar Fred, king of solar social media. How are you today, Tor?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you very much for agreeing to participate. Well, we're going to get things rolling here. Tor, can you tell us a little bit about your background and how did you become Solar Fred?
Well, it's sort of a long story, but I'll make it short. I was originally a solar advocate when I was a kid. I just really thought that it was just fascinating that you'd get free electricity from the sun. And I wanted to become a solar engineer, and then I actually took calculus and physics, and I realized I was not going to become a solar engineer. So I put that to bed for a few years, and then I realized after The Inconvenient Truth and Who Killed the Electric Car that I had great communication skills to help with the with promoting it. I didn't have to reinvent the wheel and create solar energy. So my name is Tor, and I wanted to create a Twitter name and everything else in a brand that was kind of recognizable, but Solar Tor didn't make sense. So I picked a very common name that was an inside joke between me and my ex-wife, and it became Solar Fred. And that's like I said, the short version.
Little did you know, huh?
Yeah. But it's worked, and people remember Solar Fred. It's kind of ironic. It's a good brand name for me, and it's done well, especially on Twitter.
Yeah. Tor, this is TJ. And so once you entered the solar industry, did you know that social media was going to be a large part of it? And were you involved in social media back in its infancy stages before you got into solar?
Not really. I came into social media when social media started coming up. When I was just, at the time, I was actually a film and TV writer. And so I've written for Stargate and Dharma and Greg and a few other shows and
Cool.
a lot of other studio films that never got produced. But when that sort of petered out, I was at the time starting a blog, and I knew of these new things in around 2007, 2008. This was when I saw all these other industries using social media, and the solar industry wasn't. And I thought that this was my calling to help get solar into more modern marketing, and that would help the industry and sales and everything else, and as well as, of course, global warming and all the other things that I believe in as an advocate. So that's where it all came out of. It was just I was part of the original. Part of the original. I just all of these tools were coming out, and I just didn't see the solar industry using it. So I started to blog about that and why they weren't and how they could.
For those companies that are just getting started, or for those established companies that are looking to expand their presence in the realm of social media, where's the entry point? How do you get started here?
I say this over and over again in the blog, and it's a blog. I think that is the most effective and strongest entry point for social media. It can be used in so many different ways, but number one, it helps to educate your customers. It gives you and your company a voice. You can disseminate it through so many channels, from Twitter to Facebook to StumbleUpon to just so many other things. You can republish it on things on other channels, other blogs outside of your own blog. Now that can help hurt your SEO a little bit, but again, if the point is to get the word out and you can build in a community, it all starts with the blog. And once you master blogging, and I recommend, especially in the beginning, as much as possible, at least once a week, but really ideally 3 times a week. 3 times a week blogging, and then spreading that word through all the other social networks. And the other social networks, they're different animals, so you've got to learn that language too. But don't pick all of them. Just pick 1 or 2 that you can become just really proficient on and just own it. And then you're going to do great. You'll see people start recognizing you. They'll start asking you questions. And when you engage with people, they'll engage back. And, it'll grow from there.
Great.
It's cheap, but it takes a lot of time. So that's the last thing I'll say about that.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more about the SolarFred's guide to solar guerrilla marketing?
Well, this was again started because I had a lot of ideas in my idea bank for clients, and I just really didn't have enough clients to be sharing them all. I didn't want to give everything away to my current clients, and I kept getting a lot of emails and comments on the blog from smaller companies that kept asking me, can I help them? And unfortunately, I couldn't help all of them, in terms of pricing and everything else. I just didn't have the time to do it. So I decided, okay, let me create a book that they can buy. It's affordable. It's not a lot of money. They're going to have to do all the work, but at least I can give them the framework to do some original guerrilla marketing that will help them stand out and educate their customers and get noticed and get more business. So that's what I did. I did it and I self-published it, and it's sold a lot. I'm really happy to say that I know a lot of people have bought it. So
well, we were lucky enough to receive a free copy at your solar tweet-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you won it.
Yeah. No, we've really enjoyed it. Where can people go to get your Solar Guerrilla Marketing Guide?
It's on Amazon is probably the best way. Just look up SolarFred's Guide to Solar Guerrilla Marketing. You can also get an ebook version on my book website, which is solarfredmarketing.com. I haven't done a Kindle version yet because there's been some technical difficulties about that, and I've just been lazy about solving them, but I will do that eventually, and then there'll be a Kindle version as well.
Great. That's fantastic. Now, in terms of Twitter, at some of the recent solar conferences, there have been solar tweet-ups, and SolarFred, I know you've been a part of those, and you've also been a part of the Solar Chat.
Right.
It's great to see a lot of these social media themed activities at conferences and happening every month in the industry. So as you look at the solar industry, and as with your SolarFred perspective, do you think that we're doing a good job of getting the word about solar out there in social media? And what do you think we can do in the future to help increase awareness?
I think it's come a long way since I started haranguing people about it in like 2008 and 2009. I think people are doing much better. There's a huge solar community now on Twitter. It's very industry-based in terms of the following and people getting there. I think that because solar is a large, long-term purchase, it takes a lot of hold-handing and development of and education of customers. And I think that, the industry has begun to realize that, and they're doing it. They realize that just throwing a bunch of ads at people isn't going to get them to buy solar. They've got to educate them and take that time to do it. How long does it take to get a solar customer these days? It used to be 2 years from the time that someone was thinking about solar to the time they actually got it installed. More recently, it's now, 3 months to 6 months that it finally happened. So we're doing much better, and I think part of that is the ability for people to use social media like videos from YouTube and Facebook posts and Twitter and Tumblr, and maybe not Tumblr. I don't know if Tumblr is the right venue for it, but certainly Pinterest is. If you want to show off your beautiful installations, I would definitely set up a Pinterest account.
I know Reddit does its fair share as well.
And do that, because I think a picture's worth 1,000 words, and people want to see that their homes are not going to look ugly when you put solar panels on. So I think again, in sum, that people are definitely learning to use these tools. I think that solar marketing departments are generally underfunded, and so there's not a lot of manpower to do all this work that's free except for the labor. So it just has to keep growing, and I think people have to take more risks and invest in more people to be doing this solar social media outreach, and spend a little less on AdWords and all the other advertisements that they spend money on.
What is it about the solar industry that you think really lends itself to having social media campaigns be effective? You couldn't sell a car this way. What is it about solar that makes it work?
I think it comes from the fact that it's still sort of a movement. I think that because we're so new in America with solar, it's part political. There's obviously some pushbacks from the utilities, especially most recently, and other fossil fuel companies. So I think people want to have a conversation about that. And that's what social media does. It allows you, whether in 140 characters or less on Twitter or in a blog, with comments so that you can go back and forth, or on Facebook, you can have a real conversation with people, thousands of people potentially all the time, about solar, and people are interested because it's new. And I think that's what makes it. But all brands can do it. It's just, I think that, again, there seems to be this solar advocacy perspective about it, that people are more willing to do it with solar because it's something that has a positive effect on the world, and you can debate, global warming with it and things like that. But with or without global warming, solar is a solution for that, as well as lowering your electricity prices. So even if you don't believe in global warming, you can at least believe in lowering your electric rate. I mean, your electric bill. So I think for all those reasons, it's just a wonderful way to talk about solar through social media.
Yeah. And Tor, I understand that you lived in New York City for a long time, and I believe now you reside in the Bay Area. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So since you've lived in the Bay Area, have you seen a rise in solar installations, in San Francisco, Oakland, and the surrounding area?
Well, before I lived in New York City, I was actually living in Los Angeles for many years, again, as a film and TV writer. So,
okay, yeah.
I think that both there and in definitely the Bay Area, there's a lot more solar. In fact, I often take walks around my neighborhood, and just going down the street, I see one, and I say to myself, I'll bet you I will see at least 2 or 3 more installations on this block, and I do, because solar is contagious. I think there is that aspect of, because it's different. People will see it and they'll ask their neighbors about it, and they'll learn about the benefits, and it will spread throughout the block. So I'm still waiting to see the block that is completely filled with solar panels. I mean, beyond a development that was planned that way. That would be really cool to me. I mean, even in San Francisco, where it's very liberal around here, and the suburban areas, I still haven't seen a whole block where everyone has solar panels on their house. Now maybe they're on the south side. I don't know. I mean on the back side, so I can't see them. But I'm looking forward for someone to give me that statistic to say, hey, this whole entire block has gone solar.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, Tor, thank you so much for talking with us today. Your insights have been very helpful. I think it's going to go a long way for many of our listeners. And anybody out there, if you're on Twitter, I recommend that you follow SolarFred. So search for @SolarFred. He's got a lot of great tweets, a lot of good information. You can connect you to some of his blogs. He does a lot of blogging for Renewable Energy World. And he really is a social media guru, not just social media, but also a marketing guru. So, Tor, thank you so much for your time today. And we look forward to seeing you very soon at a solar tweet up or at one of the solar conferences or out and about in one of our solar meetings.
Terrific, guys. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the great questions.
Thank you, Tor. Take care.
Okay, bye.
This edition of PV Power Up was sponsored by Innovatus Solar. Save with solar.
Reach over.